This is how I went from drawings like this to this. I also want to say that I'm not a professional, so I will not be using any professional terminology, so please don't expect that. Thank you. So one of the first things that I adopted when I started doing hyper-realistic drawings was the grid method, okay? So this basically helps artists to break reference photos down into bite-sized pieces. And you can see that there are the same amount of squares on this side that there are on this side. I also want to say about this method that it really forces your brain outside of drawing what you're trying to draw and more so drawing what you see. Example of this is like in this square, let me see if I can get it. In this square right here, you have two diagonal lines. So what your brain is telling you is that you're drawing two diagonal lines when in reality you're drawing a shoulder. What you're forcing your brain to do is draw the lines that you see or like the shapes that you see rather than the overall photo that you're trying to draw. And if you're struggling with the habit of drawing what you expect rather than what you see, what you can do is flip the drawing and the reference photo upside down in combination with using the grid method, and you can really trick your brain out of what you're actually trying to draw. And then when you flip it right side up, you have a whole masterpiece. And then over time, you won't even need the grid method because you would have adopted the habit of drawing shapes and then adding detail to it later on. I'm really hoping that all of this is making sense. Also, this is a website that I use to put the grid over my reference photos. The next step is for people that are intending to color their drawings. With this, my tip here would be is to make sure that your sketch is as light as possible, yet also giving as much information as possible from the reference photo. You can see in the parts that are already colored, there is no pencil marks because the sketches were light enough for me to cover it with the colored pencil. So this is actually my first attempt at doing a hyper-realistic piece, and one thing that I did do was I used pen to ink my sketch. You can see a lot of that line work peeking through on the perimeter of the shirt, and also around the eyes as well, and the nose, basically everywhere. Just personally for me, having that ink show through really took an element away from the drawing, and it went against the whole hyper-realistic look that I was going for. This is another example of what I try to go for now. Also, if you find that your sketch is too dark, you can literally use one of these little erasers. You can just dab it. It takes a lot of that pencil right off. Lastly is embracing depth, okay? So this is an example that I'm actually gonna go back to, where you can see that I kind of have one tone throughout the whole face. Yes, I have some highlights here and here and here, whatever, but the dark shadows are very shy. They don't really want to do anything, you know? Whereas like in this drawing, I took advantage of the shadows around my smile lines and maybe some under my eyes. Now I also want to say that I know I kind of do a lot, like the contrast in my drawings are very high and I like it that way, and I also feel like it makes the drawing look more real than the actual photo itself. I don't know, that's just me. But I feel like having the opportunity to make the dark colors dark and the light colors light really does add a 3D element to your 2D drawing. Also, one way to make sure that your highlights are actually doing their thing, what you can do is use a white gel pen. I use the white Jelly Roll pen. It's not even showing up. There we go. It just makes everything look a little bit more alive. And that is all I have. Those are my top 3 tips that I could think of. Thank you for watching this far if you did watch this far, and that's all I have. Bye!